Well, welcome. I know I've said it a couple times this morning, but we are really excited to kick off course 2 of the Level Up program for year 1. We are going to go through a couple of housekeeping items, and then we'll dive into the discussion with that pre-course worksheet that we had asked you to fill out. All right. Well, my name is Jordan Brown. I am the Nonprofit Success Manager for Colorado Gives 365, and I oversee the Level Up program. A lot of you are looking like familiar faces and familiar names now since we've been together here in 2023. And so I'm really excited to hear from you and hear how the closeout of your 2023 season went. This will be about a 90-minute session. If we don't need that much time, we can close it earlier. And if we need more time, we can also schedule one-on-one meetings to chat further about any feedback that you have on the Level Up program or Colorado Gives. We are joined today, as we'll talk about in a bit, by our partners at Firefly Partners, and they are going to be leading course 2 educational courses for us. So what are we going to cover today? Today, we are going to be talking about the commitment to the Level Up program. So just reviewing what you have access to and what our expectations are for you in this first year. We want to talk about next steps for Cohort 2 and 3, that's you guys. And we also want to introduce our new course instructor, Michael. We'll review the education schedule for course 2, so everybody's clear on the courses and the rhythm of everything. And then we'd like to open it up and really dig in and hear from you guys. We want to hear what's working, what's not working, challenges, successes, all of that good stuff. And then, of course, we'll have some time for Q&A at the end of this session. A couple of housekeeping items for us. So today's session is being recorded, and it will be posted on the Level Up page afterwards. So I'm going to stop sharing because I'm actually going to reference that for you right now. If you're like, what's the Level Up page, Jordan? It's this page right here. And we have the full course training schedule as well as the summary of what's happening in your Level Up program. And then below that, we've made some updates. So now you can access all of the Course 1 recordings as well as the resources all from this page. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in the chat for us, just so everybody has it before we move forward. Okay, there you go. All right, let's go ahead and reshare that screen. All right, so if you need, if you need access to any of the recordings, any of the materials from Course 1, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to send it to you. It's also available in the Google Drive right now, and as I shared with you on that Level Up page. We want you to be dropping your questions in chat. Of course, we can pause throughout this. We want this to be an organic discussion, but if you're like me and you need to write something down and put it in chat so you can remember it when someone else finishes the end of their sentence, please, we encourage you to be leveraging the chat so we can call on you and share more information. If you need support during this course 2, which is going from January now until the beginning of May, we encourage you to, first and foremost, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm J. Brown at coloradogivesfoundation.org. And so I'll be able to direct your questions, set up a one-on-one meeting if you need help with Colorado Gives, the platform, and help surface any other questions or resources that you might need. And then secondarily, we have a full-time customer support team. So if you just have a nagging question about how to use the Colorado Gives platform, which you should be using for your main digital fundraising efforts, you can always reach out to support@Colorado Gives. I oversee the customer support team. And so if there's a question that they can't answer, it escalates and goes right to me. So those are the two main contacts related to the program and then related to coloradogives.org. If you need help executing on the strategy that we talked about in course 1 or that we're going to talk about in course 2, of course, our Firefly partners are available to connect with you. But I also want to encourage you to leverage the one-on-one Catchafire nonprofit professional calls. If you're like, I've never heard of that, what are you talking about? The Catchafire program is accessible to all of you. And we've seen some great projects get completed, hundreds of thousands of dollars saved, lots of time saved by leveraging the Catchafire platform. As a reminder, the Catchafire platform connects you with nonprofit professionals who are volunteering their time to help you. So whether it's data cleanup, marketing, digital fundraising, branding, whatever that looks like to you as far as a project, they have templates for all of that. In addition to those projects, you can have one-on-one hour calls with any nonprofit professional on different topics. And so I encourage you to explore and just keep reminding yourself that if you feel like you don't have the capacity to do something we are talking about or within your organization, lean on Catchafire. It's there for you. It's an unlimited subscription for you to use. If you need help with the advanced features, for this, we can always schedule a one-on-one meeting with me, and I'll likely bring in a Mighty Cause representative who all they do all day is help folks with the advanced features. Now, just as a reminder, Cohort 2 does not have access to the advanced features unless you've decided to opt in. Cohort 3 does have the advanced features. And they are experiencing and leveraging, hopefully, the advanced features throughout the course of this year. All right. So let's talk quickly about our commitment to course 2 of the Level Up program. So first and foremost, we are just expanding and adjusting the way that we're communicating with you. So we are now communicating with our main contact person, as well as all the admins of your organization page. And we're doing that hopefully to invite more conversation, more learning opportunities, but also so anybody else associated with your Colorado Gives organization page has access to and knows what's going on, because we know things come up, whether personal or professional. We know that sometimes you can't always make the classes or courses. What we do ask is that someone, ideally someone consistently, from your staff, at least one person, is available for all of these classes running through to the beginning of May. Colorado Gives is integrated into your online fundraising strategy and website year-round. So a big measurement of success from our perspective is not only providing you these tools to build your capacity, but also that you're learning how to leverage the Colorado Gives platform. And so that means any upcoming events for this spring, any initiatives, capital campaigns, recurring gift initiatives, and making sure that you're embedding either the widget or the embeddable donation form, if you have the advanced features, on your external website. I won't go into great detail now, but just know that through these embeddable donation forms, you are saving money, you are converting more folks because you're giving them a customized experience on your external website where they can give without being navigated away. So make sure that you're considering and executing on those asks from us around the Colorado Gives platform. I've seen a lot of folks make great updates to their organization page on Colorado Gives, and we have some amazing trainings available as well to talk about how to update them, value propositions, and how to really cultivate and encourage folks to give in just a few short sentences. So make sure that you are updating your organization page on Colorado Gives, the About section, make sure it's streamlined text. And if you need any help with any of those updates, I am here and I'm happy to lend a hand. All nonprofit staff have access to and are using Catchafire for any projects. So of course, we want you to leverage Catchafire for your digital fundraising efforts and related to Colorado Gives. But we also want to make sure your other staff, your finance team, your grantors, your CEO, the folks that are supporting and integrating into what you're doing for development should also have access to Catchafire. And so it's an unlimited amount of staff people from your organization that can access the Catchafire tool. So just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of those resources for you to leverage over the next couple months. All right, and similarly for Cohort 3, all the same ticks as Cohort 2, except we're also asking you to please make sure that you are leveraging the advanced features. If you're like, oh, I just couldn't get to it in 2023, but I need to start thinking about it this year, let's have a meeting. Let's have a demo of the advanced features and see which ones complement your organization and your fundraising strategy. All right. So here's some just quick action items for all the cohorts. So again, would love for you to make sure that you are reviewing the recordings and resources from course 1. So what we talked about, those kind of fundamental aspects of digital fundraising, because we're going to build on that in course 2. Review your Catchafire landing page. So all of this is hyperlinked and we'll share the presentation afterward. But the landing page for Catchafire really gives you all of the resources and action items you could need to leverage Catchafire. We want you to update your organization page on Colorado Gives, and I've linked a video recording that goes through how you can do that and some best practices. We want you to embed your free donation widget on your external website, and or leverage the embeddable donation form on your external website. And these are just some things that I wanted to challenge you guys to think about related to this course. I want you to ask yourself, where are planned fundraising events in these next couple months or in 2024 where I can insert, where you as a nonprofit can insert digital fundraising with Colorado Gives? Where are there opportunities to segment donors and data to encourage specific actions? So I think the more specific and the more segmentation that you can execute in your marketing efforts, the more action you're going to see happen because you're targeting specific folks for specific reasons to take action and support you. And then lastly, how can you streamline your donation technology, lower costs and staff time? So an obvious answer to that is to leverage coloradogives.org, but we know that's not the only tool that you're leveraging, and that's within your tool belt, I should say, I guess. And so we want to make sure that we are here to support you as you think through how to leverage Colorado Gives, how Colorado Gives integrates with your other marketing and databases. All right. So now we've gotten through all of the housekeeping. Let me just take a peek at chat. Okay, Juliana said she's having a little bit of trouble with Catchafire in terms of tips. Would love to hear from the cohort. Okay, great. We can definitely talk about that. Let's make sure that we talk about today how everybody's using Catchafire and where they've seen success and where maybe, it's not as applicable to some folks. Thank you, Juliana. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Michael to introduce your new coach. You're going to be seeing a lot of him over the next couple months, and we're so excited that he's joining us. So, Michael, if you want to say hello and introduce yourself, that would be great.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Jordan. It's so nice to be here. I'm Michael Stein with Firefly Partners, and I'm joining you today from the San Francisco Bay Area. Just so thrilled to be part of the Level Up Digital Fundraising program in 2024. I've actually really enjoyed getting acquainted with many of your organizations through your prior engagement with the course, and also by following your organizations on social media and getting your email updates. So thank you all for your engagement with the community, since it reaches people like me as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to participating in today's self-evaluation, and just really hearing just how you were able to leverage all these incredible resources for your campaigns in 2023, whether it was Colorado Gives Day, whether it's here in fundraising, or just other activities that you were participating in. Yeah, I think we've got a super exciting curriculum planned for all of you in 2024. We want to build on what we developed last year, but also dig in even further, find ways to help support your efforts. So for me, at least, today is also a great way to level set about what you found the most helpful for you last year, but also where there were opportunities for more growth, or things we can expand on. So we've already started developing the curriculum for this year, but we've also left some of it still a little bit open. We want to make sure that we're going to create curriculum that really meets your needs for the year and beyond. So I'll just end there. There's a few things on the screen about my background, which you're welcome to peek at. And I will say that I, even though I've worked with many large nonprofit organizations over the many years of my career, in the last decade, I've specialized in working mostly with mid-sized and small nonprofit organizations across the country. So really looking forward to hearing about your work, engaging with you, and just finding ways to support your success. So thank you, Jordan. Thank you all.
Oh, thank you. We're so happy you're here and so excited to get the learning started. Let me go ahead and move on to the next slide. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the schedule for Course 2 Year 1. So we have all the dates, as I mentioned, outlined on the Level Up page. And so as we go through the course, I'm going to be creating the Zoom links, posting the Zoom links on that Level Up page, giving you guys some time to register. And then for anybody who doesn't register, I will upload that list a couple days before, as you may have noticed, just so everybody from your staff and organization gets the opportunity, if they want, to participate in each of these Zooms. Like I said, only one person from your organization does have to participate, and we are taking attendance. All right, so we are in it. January 23rd, hello, here we are, almost at the end of January, and I can't believe it. So for today, as we mentioned, we're really looking to just check in with you guys, have that self-evaluation discussion, take notes, understand action items and things that we can help with in Course 2. In February, on the 13th, we're going to focus on donor prospecting and engagement. We've adjusted the schedule a bit from Course 1 to now. In Course 1, we had a class that was 2 hours long, and then we had office hours. We found that the office hours, while helpful to a few, maybe didn't expand the discussion enough for everybody. And so what you'll see here is for the February 13th donor prospecting and engagement class, there will be a complimentary learning lab, and that will happen on March 7th. So we will be taking the topics and the discussion and the learning items from the February 13th class and expanding on it, helping talk to you guys about how you can actually leverage those tools and those ideas in your strategy. March 21st, we're going to have a Using Tech Tools for Success. So while we'll focus a lot on Colorado Gives and those tools and how you implement them in your different campaigns, it will also be an opportunity for us to talk about the larger picture of your tech tools that you have available to you, where you can streamline, what tools are serving you best. I want everybody to be able to hear from everybody else. What tools that are you using? What's too expensive? What's not working? What should we get rid of and put in its place? And so this will be both a learning experience on the Colorado Gives platform and also a listening experience to hear what other tools you guys are using and how it's working. We'll also have a complimentary learning lab related to tech tools in March on the 26th. In April, we're going to talk about growing your donor list. So how do we not only retain the wonderful donors who have already given, but how do we grow and cultivate new donor activity? And with that, there'll be a complimentary learning lab April 23rd. And I don't have it marked out here, but just so you know, the classes that are in teal here, they're 90 minutes, and the learning labs are 60 minutes. All of them will be recorded and posted on the Level Up page after the fact. But as many folks as can join in real time for the discussion and group sharing, we'd love to invite as many of your nonprofit folks as possible. And then in May, to round out everything, we are going to really talk about the next steps for success. So we're going to take everything we've learned from Course 1 and Course 2 classes, everything we've heard, and we'd like to kind of summarize all of that for you in the May last course. The other thing I'll note here is that if you need to invite anybody else that's not currently on the list or receiving emails for these courses, please email me directly, and I'm happy to include more or different folks on that invite. I'm going to pause here. Michael, anything I missed or anything that you specifically wanted to talk about related to the courses that are happening this session?
No, I think you captured it really well. I think I would just highlight that the learning labs, our idea around that is to invite a few of you to be our kind of case studies slash guinea pigs, but emphasis more on case studies, who are willing to share a little bit more about your specific experience in some of these different themes: donor prospecting, tech tools, and growing donor lists. And so, we'll be recruiting from you to see if some folks want to step forward and help us with that. So I think that's the only thing that I'll add to that. Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you. Great. One other thing I'll mention, if it's on top of your mind, is that year one went from May 2023 and it goes to May 2024. Some of you might be thinking, okay, what's happening for year two? Well, you guys are getting first dibs on applying for year two of the Level Up course. We've made some adjustments. We have some new and different offerings available to you, in addition to having the consistency of Catchafire, Colorado Gives, advanced features. And so you guys are our priority. We want to make sure that if you can, you are joining us for year two, so we can continue to build our relationship, support you, and hopefully make you even more successful digital fundraisers. More information on that and year two as we move closer to May. All right, so if you were curious about the next up classes, like I mentioned, sustainable year-round donor prospecting and engagement, and then the learning lab related to it. And then we'll start talking about tech tools and how you might streamline and leverage the different tools available to you. All right. That was all the not so exciting, but necessary stuff related to the program. Thank you all for sticking with me through it. Let's get to the good stuff. Let's start chatting about what happened in 2023 for your organization and how it went. Okay. So I'd like to open it up first and talk about course one and the other courses that you experienced in 2023. So the question is, how did course one with Firefly Partners? How did the copywriting course with Institute for Sustainable Philanthropy, the 1K match, and any other elements related to course one help you with your Colorado Gives campaign? So I'd love to open it up. Is anybody willing to share a little bit more about any of these aspects in year one that helped or that you saw directly impact your digital fundraising?
I'll talk, Miss
Okay,
Georgia.
great.
So I would say the biggest help with the copywriting course was definitely giving a better view on how we should be addressing our donors instead of using a lot of your help helps our organization, really focusing on just the donors help is helping our clients and helping who we serve, not necessarily how our organization is doing the helping. It was more of the because of the donor our families are receiving instead of because of the donor Joyful Journeys is helping the families. So that was a big turning point for us and really trying to focus more on that way of communicating with donors. And I think that really helped see more interest and see more impact because we were able to make it all about the donor and the sponsor and less about what we do. The $1,000 match grant for us really helped. It was like a good driving force, a competitiveness of let us reach this $1,000 goal. I think we met it with the first week of the early donations. So that was really nice. It was almost one of those out of the way, get it out of the way. And let us focus more on actual Colorado Gives Day instead of worrying about trying to hit that match. So that was a good motivation for the team. It was good motivation for our donors. And then we used the widget on MailChimp. We used the widget on our website. We used the URL in all of the posts. So it was just kind of blasting it everywhere. But the widget was awesome to put into like our newsletters and stuff. And then we also had a page on our website just for it.
Oh, awesome. That's great. Thank you for that feedback. I'm curious from your perspective with the 1K match, with which if you guys are like, what's that? About 35 nonprofits in cohort 2 and 3 got a 1K match for having excellent attendance in course one. And so we set up that 1K match right ahead of November 1st, so right ahead of Colorado Gives Day. I'm wondering, Brianna, was that helpful that it was there at the beginning? Or if we're doing this again for course two and we're giving you guys matching grant funds again, would you prefer to see that maybe midway through or on the actual day? I'm just curious if timing wise, you think it was most helpful up front.
I would say for us being a small organization, it was extremely helpful because it gave us plenty of time to meet that goal. We, even though we had a huge, like 400% something crazy growth this year from last year's Colorado Gives, we still were very tiny compared to what other organizations raised. So I think for us being, we only have like 4 or 5 team members here. It was really good to have that much time just to have that stress of not making the goal.
Yes. Okay, great. That's awesome feedback. I always like to check in because we're never sure if like delivering it up front at November 1st gets everybody energized, or if you start ramping up closer to Colorado Gives Day and it'd be more helpful for that 1K match to be available then.
I think it helped us be a reminder too, sorry, that just like we could
go ahead.
start, like it was like our go time to start, even giving us that like month window to even advertise for Colorado Gives. It gave us plenty of like time to get the word out.
Okay, great. And what is it, like 7 to 14 times a donor has to hear the, the message or the action item before they actually take action. So great. I'm so glad you're using that November timeline to do exactly what we intended for Colorado Gives Day, to ramp up your communications and get folks excited. Tessa, I see your hand up. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple things about the copywriting course. I found it incredibly valuable. I think in my organization specifically, we've always had a real hang up about not wanting to like slip into like poverty porn type of language, and that's really prevented us from like using emotional language sometimes. And I think taking that course and like seeing some of the like differences between how things were approached and having to rethink how I approached them, that was incredibly valuable for me. That really shifted the way that the language that we used in our campaign this year. And I've got some feedback that was highly effective. So that was really exciting. The one thing I would say about that course, though, just personally, as a person with ADHD, it would be great if there were any kind of like real-time check-ins throughout that course at some point, because the self-guided portion for busy people with ADHD or just busy people in general, I'm sure, was a little challenging. Like I tried my best to keep up with it, but I found myself like doing a lot of like the final stuff like the weekend before it was due kind of thing. And I really wish that there'd been more of like a touchstone throughout to kind of check in.
Okay, that is super helpful. And I agree. I had trouble, I was doing the course along with you guys, and I had trouble keeping up, or I'd stop for a week or two because it got busy, and then I'd rush and do the next couple things. So maybe check-ins. I think the other thing that I was thinking about related to the copywriting course is if we do offer it again, or offer the next level up of the fundraising course, that it maybe shouldn't be right before Colorado Gives Day, because that timing wise, we asked you to jump from Firefly course 1 right into the copywriting course. And that's just generally a busy time of year for everybody. Would you agree that maybe if we adjusted the timing, it would be a little bit more helpful?
Yeah, I think slightly earlier, not a whole lot though, to be honest, because like it really did kind of lead right into when we were starting or, getting ready to put out our Colorado Gives Day campaign. So for me, maybe a month or 6 weeks earlier, just so I had a little more time to like refine things. But yeah, that final project due at the end of October, if it were due like maybe 4 weeks earlier than that, it would have given me a little more time to then refine it with their feedback and move forward. But it was like, oh, well, I'm using most of that, so let's go.
Let's just do it. Okay, that's really helpful. And that's something that we kind of observed too. Like maybe if we gave you just a little bit of extra time, even just a couple of weeks right before we jump into Colorado Gives Day, that gives you a little bit more time to implement on the ideas. Oh, well, I'm so glad that course helped you guys out. That's wonderful. Thank you for that feedback. I see Heather, you have your hand up.
I was just going to say, I know there was the additional matching grant for monthly donations that was offered.
Yes.
And this Colorado Gives Day, we normally don't have folks that are interested in doing recurring donations. And I think the combination of the narrative from the copywriting course, along with that, because I had several people that have never talked to me about donating before, ask specifically about the matching grant for the recurring gifts. And so it was great to see a few people that took interest in knowing that we can capitalize on that going forward. For our organization size, we usually enjoy really robust donations on Colorado Gives Day.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think our organization got in like at the very beginning. And so over time, like folks are almost trained, like they know we give
This
now.
is when I give. Yep.
This is when I give. But I think also, and I probably am jumping a little bit ahead, but the copywriting course not just only helped with Colorado Gives Day, but we almost never have end of year giving because of Colorado Gives Day. Everybody gives in December and then they're all done. This year I went to the mailbox, like our like actual physical mailbox, and opened it up to some really happy mail. There was, I think, $10,000 or $11,000 in the mailbox. And that has never happened. So I've been doing this job for 5 years. That's never happened for end of year giving. So that was a huge leap forward on our end of year giving that I think was coupled with the narrative that was developed in the copywriting course. So it was really helpful for us. And I think it led I think the best part about the copywriting is it gets the message out in a really succinct, digestible way for folks. And that makes it easier for them to understand, oh, this is important and I am making a difference because of my donation. And, it was grand because I had a gal stop me at a concert and say, I can't sing, I can't play an instrument, but I can give. That is what I can do.
Oh,
I am in the audience and I am
Love
going,
that. Yeah.
she handed me a check. And
oh,
so
that gives me chills.
I know it was one of those, it's like one of those magic moments that you're like, oh, everything we're doing does matter. And so it is working.
People are listening.
People are
It's
listening.
just the way that you're talking to them that matters. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, let me ask you, since you mentioned the recurring match, did you get a couple of new recurring donors from that match?
We did. I'm trying to count off the top of my head, but I think there were at least 5 new
Nice.
recurring match donors.
And that was really the goal of that incentive, to allow you guys to have the platform and the place to start asking for recurring gifts, because we know it's really challenging to shift the mindset from the one-time donation to the recurring gift, or make that upsell, as we say. So that's great.
Well, and the question that a lot of people have that I would say think about for this upcoming Colorado Gives Day is, if I do a recurring match, does that help you on Colorado Gives Day for the incentive fund?
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure. And so this year I said, well, thanks to that match, yes, it does. I said, it will actually help us more if you set up a monthly donation. Then I have to get into the math of like,
Yeah.
okay, so this many people donate and it's this big and this is how much we get from the incentive fund because we earn this much. And so I think just also helping people clarify that language of like, yes, this matters. Like it's still making a difference, even though you're not maybe contributing to our incentive fund goals, if that makes sense.
No, that makes complete sense. And we had a lot of internal discussion about that when we were planning that prize incentive. What does that mean overall for the nonprofits participating in Colorado Gives Day? Because in some ways you could see it lowering your overall total for Colorado Gives Day. But in reality, because the recurring gifts are so valuable over time, the hope was that it puts you in a position to do good on a Colorado Gives Day, and then also hopefully engage and retain those monthly donors as well. That's great to hear. And
that's really insightful,
Go
Heather.
ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say that's super insightful, your experience with the monthly giving. And I know with working with lots of nonprofits that it can be helpful also to separate out monthly and recurring giving campaigns so that they're their own sort of distinct campaigns during the year. I think we'll have a chance to talk about that in February, but it's just so interesting to hear your experience. But I'm so glad that the matching grant was an encouraging, like a catalyst for people to want to do that. Anyway. Thank you, appreciate it. Sorry, Jordan.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
No, that's great. I had one more just question for you. Since this was really the first time that you saw significant activity in your end of year giving, do you have any idea, or can you tie those donations to anything other than people just loving your messaging and wanting to give? Was there any different actions that you took to prompt people to give after Colorado Gives? Day?
Not other than it allowed, so we have, after Colorado Gives Day, we have 3 concerts that take place afterwards. And so that messaging, I was able to tie it through into those concerts. It's not too late to give. And it's the vote early, vote often, but I say give early, give often. Like, please, we need your money. And also we we had the misfortune of doing 3 concerts in a building where the heat went out the 2 days that we had those concerts. So
Ooh.
it was warm in December.
Yeah.
But it was also one of those things where people, they were still there, they came, they were engaged, they were really listening, because I had to send out an email that said, hey, bring a blanket, dress warm. You won't be crammed on stage with the lights of 100 other people singing, but it might be chilly because there is no functioning heater in the building that we were performing in, which was super exciting. But I think just tying it through the messaging that people heard, and also hearing it's not too late to give, like the door isn't closed. And I think that it made it, like I said, digestible so that people could, because we didn't take any big action. There wasn't any big end of year giving push. It was, I think, just that gentle nudge of, thank you so much for your support. If you want to join in, now would be a great time.
Awesome. I love that. Any other thoughts on Firefly Course 1, the copywriting course, or the 1K match? Have any of you guys ever done a match before and used that type of language to excite folks? Any other feedback?
And Athena Lansing is asking a question in the chat about,
there we go. Thank you.
yeah, just about, whether other people had success with new recurring giving.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So there, Athena, you're saying you got only 3 recurring gifts and you were hoping for more. Yeah, it's, I think it's, for Colorado Gives Day, there are a lot of things you can focus on, messaging wise, and ways you can encourage donors to take action. For recurring donations, we know it's a hard ask to convert current one-time donors or new donors to give that gift. So sometimes it takes time. I will say that we are planning, hopefully, on providing the recurring gift match again for the 2024 campaign. But, I would definitely consider, what are the profile of those 3 new recurring donors? How could you maybe cultivate more of that type of donor? What's the long game in how you're communicating the value of a recurring gift versus a one-time gift? Michael, I don't know if you have any thoughts on kind of a recurring strategy. I know it's like all fundraising, ongoing, to learn what your audience reacts to.
Yeah, well, I think we'll dig into this more in February, but just very quickly, I think it can be helpful to also build like just a very unique narrative around what recurring giving supports. I don't mean like restricted giving, but just like, sometimes people have they'll give their recurring giving program a special name or a special kind of brand that's a little bit distinct from the rest of from the organization, so that people feel like they're in a special group. And then, as I said earlier, you can also try to do a campaign where you're like, help us find 20 new recurring donors so that we can support this particular effort in the next few months. So it gives people kind of a focus around something exciting that they're contributing to. So I think those kinds of strategies can help build that kind of giving.
Well, that's interesting. I like the idea of help us find recurring donors. It kind of takes the pressure off the people you're emailing while also calling them out to ask them to make a recurring gift. That's one I haven't heard before, but I think that might resonate with folks. Thank you. Hi, Jennifer. I'm glad you were able to figure out how to raise your hand. Thank you. Oops, you're on mute, I think. Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah. I just wanted to say I agree the copywriting course was fire, like it was amazing. And the $1,000 match, I think early was also really beneficial. For us, the copywriting course led us into this larger thinking about how the whole year would look and what we could do to engage donors with a kind of a branded message throughout the year, and doing that year over year. So this year we had a Tame the Dragon theme, and we're going to carry that through 2024. The dragon being cancer. We're a cancer research organization, so it's about ways people can tame that through clinical trials. And we're going to carry that messaging through. We didn't have a real trajectory, but previously we knew it was our 40th anniversary. So being able to think about it in that way with this kind of donor focused messaging really helped us look at them as our hero and what that meant for us. And I think we're going to keep doing that going forward. So it really led to much bigger thinking than just Colorado Gives Day. It was so much bigger.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. I love the Taming the Dragon. Yeah, because with cancer research, it's a hard thing to talk about in everyday messaging, and to be able to reference clinical trials and the work that you're doing in a way that's digestible to folks, especially those that have gone or are going through it. Let me ask, did you see, or what were your results from Colorado Gives Day with the adjustments to the messaging?
It's very interesting because we are kind of starting from scratch. We've been around for 40 years, but we didn't really have any development or focus. It was just kind of using the materials that were given to us through the site. And I was sort of brought on board to figure all of that out. So just consolidating everything into the Colorado Gives Day website, the donation, the widget, the messaging, really focusing on that. We saw more recurring donors, not a ton, maybe, I think we had maybe 4 or 5 new recurring donors. But we were able to see clearly in one space where the money was coming from. And also some of our donors that are just sporadically would donate, because we had $1,000 match. We're like, let's donate now instead of other times of the year, because we want to meet that match. So it was helpful. Because it's the first year really pulling it together, it's hard to know how much better we were, but it looked a lot better. I can tell you that it looked a lot better, in one lump. I just don't know over the course of the year how it's going to play out.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that feedback.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Hi, Heather.
Hello. Okay, I will say, I think the course content was really awesome. I know I learned a lot as being the person who has to do it and has zero background in marketing or any of these things, fundraising, etc. So I generally have nothing but good stuff to say about the courses. Obviously, I think that my biggest takeaway was just the work, and I would have preferred to have the whole thing spread out a little bit more. It was just really hard to keep up with. I did appreciate, that we were creating all this content we were going to use, and of course we used it. And I don't know if I'm the only one who experienced this, and I guess I'm kind of curious about other people. We used, the copywriting class, we used all the different, ways of wording things and all of that stuff. And we thought it was pretty good. We also did physical postcards to an extreme amount of people that we've never done before. And honestly, we got nothing more than we've had in the past. So it was kind of disappointing from just an actual financial dollar amount situation. And again, I don't know if that was, I guess my takeaway is I think we obviously need more to do in terms of finding the right donors. I don't know. It was just interesting. We really just didn't we were expecting to see a little bit better results, and we just didn't. I also do just get the feeling, and this is, I don't know, curious what other people think of. I just don't think people are donating as much this past year, the last 2 years. We've just had a difficult time in general. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's great. And it's interesting because a lot of organizations I work with who have the capacity or the budget do a lot of mail outs. And I hear either one or the other. All of our, most of our donors or all of our major donors, that's how they respond with the mail out or the postcard or sending in a check back. And then at the other extreme is we've never done that, or that's not how they want to be talked to, or we've wasted money on that. So based on the postcard efforts, do you think you would adjust that based on who you think your donors are? Or do you think you would drop that and maybe focus efforts elsewhere in the future, maybe more digital?
Well, it's a good question, because I think we still have more than a handful of people who like to send in checks and, maybe don't get our newsletters on via email or whatever, don't follow us on social media or all that kind of stuff. So I think we would still do it. We had like a chunk of new donor information of people like donated once and never before. So we were really thinking that we'd at least get a couple, folks on that. And I just don't think it was worth it. So we'd probably just stick with our normal group that we send postcards to and try to do better with the digital stuff.
Okay, that's
There's a
great.
comment also from Joel in the chat about spending some money on postcards, but I'm definitely, hearing a little bit of a recurring theme, and it is true. Like, I do feel like postal mail can combine successfully with other channels like digital or events and that kind of stuff. But I noted it does take quite a lot of experimentation, I think, to get that right. In my experience with clients, I feel like postcards don't often yield a lot of direct revenue, but they're really good marketing for marketing for events, for maybe for an upcoming thing that you're doing. But it's really more the letter inside the envelope with wet ink and that real high-end personalization. That's the part of postal mailing that tends to yield more direct revenue. But this is something we can also dig in further in the course. But it's really, really interesting to hear, Heather, from your experience and yours as well, Joel, and others about how postcards might help.
And I'm curious on the same note, just because I've been having a lot of conversations with you all and other nonprofits. Postcards is one channel, digital is one channel, and of course with digital, there's multiple channels within that, yada, yada, yada. But I'm curious if any of you were picking up the phone and leveraging the phone numbers of the donors, either prior to prepping them for Colorado Gives Day or as a thank you afterward or in your end of year fundraising. I know that's a big ask for some organizations based on capacity, but I'm just curious, was anybody able to capture phone numbers through the platform and leverage them for donor engagement? Hi, Abby. Oh, sorry.
Hi. Yeah, for us, phone calls are our biggest money makers. Our donors love being talked to on the phone. So we always do a big phone campaign every year. And this year in particular, I felt extra prepared with taking all these classes, specifically with all the incentives and like the power hours. So I really advertised those. And we were trying to win one power hour, and I was calling our donors during it, and they loved it. It was like this game that we were having fun together. One even emailed me after, was like, even though we didn't win, that was so much fun. And so that was just really cool to see, and something I'll definitely remember for this year.
Awesome. Yeah, the urgency. And I think, obviously you can't call every donor, but like
right.
Well, let me ask you, because you can't call every donor, how do you choose who you call?
So this year, I believe we had 2 rounds. We had one round for Colorado Gives and then one round for end of year. For Colorado Gives, I believed we called donors who haven't donated this year in particular, but have donated to us in the past. And then the end of year, I think we focused on are bigger donors, but who also haven't donated this year, or who we know like to donate right at the end of the year.
I think that's great. That's genius.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think I
No,
had
I
cut
hear.
off. Oh, go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I mean, I do think your comment about calling some of the larger donors, or even just the concept of thanking people, is really powerful, because I know it is difficult to call and ask for money, and it's not in everyone's comfort zone. I'm seeing a couple of other comments in the chat around that, but I do love that you make it into a group effort, and I think that can definitely be helpful. I know that that people love being thanked, and it's a big part of donor development. So even if you're just using as a way to encourage people to give again, so an existing donor give again, rather than cold calling, or someone who's gave like 5 years ago, which is a little bit more challenging. So that's great. Thanks, Abby.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
awesome. And I see Juliana, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, she asked Abby, did your donors have any clue what the power hours were when you called?
Some of them did, but most of them did not. And since it was like right in the moment, like we literally were at number one for like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes. And then we started dipping to like 3 and then back up to 1. So while I'm on the phone with them, I'm like, wow, we just went back up to number 1. And so it was a lot of fun. But I did have to explain what was happening a lot.
Okay, good. Well, and this was a big change in the prize incentives overall this year, but I think things like those leaderboards, which by the
Yes.
way, guys, you can use leaderboards in team pages and in event pages anytime throughout the year. But for Colorado Gives Day, I wanted to make sure that we had some visibility so that exactly what you're describing, when you're on the phone or when you're emailing, you can say, look, we're in place 3, let's get to place 1.
Yeah, and I think the leaderboards were so great because I don't know, it gave us this feeling that in a way we actually had a chance kind of thing. So it
Yep.
felt really good. It's like, yeah, look at, we're in the medium leaderboard. That's where you look for us. And
Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much for that feedback. Yeah. Susan, I think you had come off mute. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you out. I think you had come off mute to chat a little bit before Abby started talking.
Oh, I was just going to say that we have we had board members who are, I work for Community Health Center, and we have patient board members. And so for our larger donors, we have the patients actually call and say thank you, something that they can feel very comfortable with, because yeah, soliciting or asking for a gift is hard, but saying thank you is very comfortable for them. And then they can share their experience with the donors. It's very, very personal and a good one-on-one moment.
I love that. I'm curious. Obviously, you're engaging patients, and for other nonprofits, it would be people that you served or people that are going through your programs. How did you ask them to call the donors? Like, what did that look like? You know, the preparation for that.
Well, for the ones who are serving on our board, they've already stepped up and made a commitment to the organization and feel very attached to Clinica and to our mission. So that really wasn't very difficult. We also have a group called our Patient Voice Committee, and these are people that can just give us feedback on campaigns, on services, on, you know, I don't know, we're going to choose new paint color. What do you think? And so they too are also very engaged, and we find that there's a lot of connectivity among our patients. So neighbors will also be patients, so they can share the information or share the ask, or maybe people's cousins. So we're able to do it pretty organically that way by starting with people who are already engaged and connected.
That's fabulous. And to me, I mean, I know we're talking about phone calls, but what you're describing is the same as a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign, except instead of the phone call, you're asking people to create a fundraiser page and tell their story and share that with their neighbors and their friends and their family. So maybe that's an additional avenue for 2024 that you can consider, because you have such great engaged board members and that committee. I love that. Yeah,
so far they're doing the thank you portions. They're not really starting campaigns, but I guess we could think about that going forward, but donors love to hear from the people that they're actually helping, which is nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Great. Well, I want to ask two more questions of you guys, then we'll move on to some other topics. I wanted to understand if anybody used peer-to-peer fundraising. So did you encourage board members or a specific group of committed or engaged individuals to create fundraisers on your behalf? And how did that go? Was there anybody that had that experience, or were you like, not this year, let's wait till next year? I'm just curious what your experiences were. No peer-to-peer? All right, I'm calling all of you guys. We're doing a peer-to-peer campaign this year. No, I'm just kidding. That's okay. Peer-to-peer, go ahead.
I was starting to type sort of, but I could talk.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Our board, we just started up a resource development committee this year, and they got excited about doing peer-to-peer pages for their end of year, kind of meeting their own financial commitments to the organization. And probably about half of our board members set up pages, and about half of those raised money from, more than 2 people. But that was really good. I think especially some of the ones who are less comfortable with the idea of fundraising, it just really created a tool that was just really plug and play and easy for them to do. And so it was really encouraging for me to see even the ones, whether they raised money or not, just making the effort of setting up the page and kind of participating and being part of it. So yeah, I would say overall went better than I expected with the board. And they seemed like they kind of had fun and want to do it again.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's good news. Yeah, board members, I know for my local community foundation that I was on the board on for many years, we used to take a board session and just sit down and everybody set up their pages. I also have spoken to a lot of nonprofits that they made it even more simple for their board members. They created a fundraiser page. It was the board fundraiser page, and that was the URL that all the board members shared. And then also I'll mention, just keep in mind that there are templates related to these fundraiser pages. So we can make it even easier for board members, volunteers, any of those engaged groups that want to tell their story. You can set up a fundraiser on Colorado Gives to really just make sure they're not landing on a blank page. So make them a more successful fundraiser by suggesting some text.
That's what I did for them, and some of them used the template that I made, and some of them customized it. But I think that was perfect. I could just give them the link; it was right there. All they had to do was slap their name on it. So that was the template was really good. Did all the board members set their own goals, or did you, as a collective, say, "Hey, we're going to raise $10,000 on as a board"? Was it kind of whatever anybody could do, or? Yeah, I gave a suggested goal, and then they kind of set their own. The ongoing problem that I have yet to perfect is that our board also traditionally provides a match for Colorado Gives Day, but them understanding, how to do that in a way where we're not double counting the match, or where what our donors are seeing is not is reflective of, not double counting their money. That's still a challenge that we haven't quite worked out the kinks in that. But yeah, they set their own goals. Okay, gotcha. Well, maybe we can chat obviously before Colorado Gives Day or your next campaign. Because I think there's definitely ways that where you set the match up, whether on your organization page or on a fundraiser page, you can set it up with settings so it doesn't double count. So I'm happy to help or think through that. Yeah, because when there's a lot of competing things going on, you have to be careful about how you're presenting it and when you're presenting it so people don't get confused. Yeah. Exactly. Did anybody else have exciting experience with their board members and engaging them and getting them to be part of fundraising this year or last year? Oh, here's a good one. I'm just glancing at the chat every once in a while. Thank you so much for continuing to put stuff in there. Athena was wondering if any other organizations on the call got more offline donations this year. So most of their gifts typically go through Colorado Gives. This year, more money offline than online. Did anybody else see this?
Athena, if you feel comfortable coming off mute, I'd love to just hear what that experience was. I mean, from Colorado Gives perspective, if you're raising more money, whether it's offline or online related to your Colorado Gives Day campaign, we are thrilled. But we know that there's efficiencies that come with online donations versus offline. So I'm curious, Athena, was there anything you could tie it back to, or was it just a surprise that people kind of came out of the woodwork?
I think it was more end of year giving. A lot of people's like, well, I want to donate it from my IRA, and I had lengthy discussions of like, you can do that through Colorado Gives, and you can, you can donate through your IRA and give it to every single charity that's on there. So I was surprised because when everybody asked about the incentive match and things like that, it's like, if you send me it, yes, we'll happily take your money, but we don't get any match if you send us a check.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
It's a long game converting some of those folks, and some of those people will never be converted because they like to write a check. I still carry a checkbook with me just in case. All my friends make fun of me. But yes, that's really good feedback. Maybe it's just messaging and more focus on the campaign that compelled these folks to give. Whereas maybe in past years your messaging wasn't as strong or as focused. But yes, it does then put you in a position to have to explain to them an offline versus an online related to the Colorado Gives Day incentives. All right, any other thoughts before we move on to another topic?
Brenda, I just have a question
Sure.
that's a little unrelated, but I don't know when there will be a better moment. We had a fair number of new donors come in through Colorado Gives this year. And I'm curious, because they were coming through Colorado Gives, what options there are for us to be able to learn the avenues, the metrics for how they got to our page, and if they arrived via something that was Colorado Gives, or if they arrived via our website. Obviously, I can check if they came from our website, but I'm just curious what options there are on your end for tracking new donors that we get.
That's a great question. Yeah, I think the beauty in a lot of ways of Colorado Gives is that we invest, I mean, truthfully, a large chunk of money in advertising across the state. And so we had a new news partner this year. And so we saw a lot more coverage, a lot more sharing of the Colorado Gives kind of messaging and resources to compel folks to come to the site and give. I know from our end, our marketing team is still crunching some numbers to really see what channels were most effective. And so we do plan on generally sharing that information with folks so we can continue to improve and expand our marketing and bring you guys new donors. As far as tracking those new donors, I know within your donations report, of course, you can see kind of where they're coming from as far as the page, if they're donating on a desktop or mobile device. You can see their payment method. But unless you're using an augmented URL to kind of track, if you're sharing maybe a specific URL in an email with a tracking mechanism, that would be the way that you would see any new donors that you're cultivating. If they're coming just generally from Colorado Gives, that makes me excited because that means that what we're investing in is working and helping to bring new donors your way. But I don't know if we have an exact science to say, oh, Joe Schmo, who donated to your campaign, saw the billboard, and then he went on his mobile device and he gave you a donation. So there's definitely some ways that you can better track and share unique URLs. And I do have an FAQ that I can drop in the chat related to that specifically. But I don't know if we could tell you specifically if it came through our marketing.
And Jordan, we could potentially, add, a couple minutes to cover this in more detail in the tech tools
Good point. Yeah.
session in March, because it sounds like, there's some interest in that.
Very good point. Let me see if I can find quickly while we're all here. Here is a referral code FAQ. Does that, let me know if that link works for everybody in the chat. So that's just an FAQ on how you might use referral codes to better track the source of new donors coming your way.
Nice.
Good question. All right. I want to just quickly touch base, and I'm sure, Michael, you're interested in some of these answers too. How did your social media marketing impact your Colorado Gives Day campaign and your end of year campaign? So did you try anything new? Were you on any new channels? Did you see a lot of great chatter and engagement and sharing? Was there anything significant that came out of time spent with social media?
I'm watching the chat, and it's just
Yeah.
funny. Well, I mean, I'll say, by the way, I put these screenshots, by the way, in this deck because I was just admiring just the work that people were doing on social. I mean, I feel like many of you definitely were posting on various channels. I find a lot of your stuff on Facebook. It might not have driven a lot of fundraising, but keeping in mind that with some of those referral codes, you may be able to figure out if Facebook delivered traffic to your donation pages. So that may be something to think about. And then I saw some of your posts on Instagram. So I do feel like many of you did a pretty good job promoting both your Colorado Gives and then later on your year end. So kudos to all of you who took the time to do that. It may not lead to direct gifts, but we know from just research that being visible on social media really does help grow visibility for campaigns.
Yes, and creates digital trust. If someone isn't on Instagram or Facebook and I'm looking for them and they're not popping up on social, I'm thinking to myself, well, they might not be in a really established organization if they're not running social channels, which I know sounds foolish because it's really about your programs and your impact, but it's a real thing that people that are online and comfortable in that space feel, depending on how you're showing up on those social channels. Okay, well, we can certainly talk more about that in the classes if we need to. This is a little bit more about social media marketing. I wanted to just mention that if you are still needing support and help on social media, we have 2 recorded webinars available, both from Strat Labs that go first into just the basics of how to run a digital fundraising campaign on social media. And the second webinar is specifically on advertising. So where to spend your time and your money on the different social media channels and advertising. So happy to, I'm going to drop in here just the link to our past webinars page so you can take a look at that. Okay. Any other comments on social media or thoughts before we move on to the next topic? Awesome, thank you. Okay, so I wanted to take a moment to talk explicitly about new donors. And I wanted to talk about this in this class to hear what you saw and also to mention that tomorrow we are having a new donor welcome series webinar at 10 a.m. With Next After. They are going to be talking about how to set up a welcome series, why you should have one, why you shouldn't have one or invest in certain aspects of it. And so if you're still trying to figure out how you're going to engage the new donors that you got from Colorado Gives, I do encourage you to sign up and register for tomorrow's webinar. I know that's a lot of Colorado Gives for 1 week, but we just wanted to make sure that all of our nonprofits had access to new donor welcome series information right after Colorado Gives Day. So with all that said, any other feedback on how you guys are engaging your new donors? Is it an automated welcome series? Is it a thank you and then a follow-up call in 2 weeks? What does that look like as far as engagement for new donors from 2023? any plans yet to engage the folks that were new from your 2023 Colorado Gives campaign? If you're not sure who those new donors are, we do have some built-in reports, specifically one for retention, and then the all donations report, so you can see who your new donors are through the platform. I'm getting an ask to share the link for tomorrow's webinar, which I will do. Okay, give me one
And
sec.
also we will be chatting and talking further about welcome series, email welcome series in our session in February. So there'll be another opportunity to explore the value of those sorts of tools.
All right. Oh, Jennifer, hi. Thanks for raising your hand. Go for it.
Hi, I just saw Joel's post on the chat about doing some in-person events. We also are doing in-person events, but honestly, this is kind of a weak spot for us. Donor engagement, we don't have a lot of new donor involvement. We haven't had a huge social media campaign. We're starting that in 2024, but I think it's just a tough thing, how to get more donors when we haven't been real active in the past and building those relationships. So we do have some specific campaigns, and then we have our usual annual campaign, which is Drive for the Cure. So that's a golf tournament that we do. And then we do a program called Rock with the Docs. These doctors have put together a band, and we meet at a pub and they play music, and that's one of our big fundraisers of the year. But it's mostly people who already know about it. So I think that's just a spot where I feel like we could be a lot stronger, and maybe even Colorado Gives, like through your platform, could help, Community Foundation, all of the resources could help us figure that out. It's just hard now, I think, to get new donorship.
It is, and to keep them engaged after that one-time donation. Yes.
Yeah.
I think I love the idea, especially now that we're past COVID. Like, it sounds silly, but I'm still excited to gather with people. So I love that you are doing in-person events, especially with golf tournaments or even the pub event. One thing I might suggest to insert a digital fundraising ask is for something like the golf tournament. Obviously, you're engaging, major donors and sponsors for that golf tournament. But there's also opportunity for people to donate in real time. They could just scan a QR code while they're physically there. Or for those who can't attend, a lot of donations come in through RSVPs. So as an automated response to someone RSVPing no to the pub or to the golf tournament, you can say, hey, I'm so sorry you couldn't come. Would you like to make a donation to still be a part of this family, of this event, of this thing that's taking place? And so I've seen the RSVP strategy work to really engage folks and keep them as part of the live event, even if they can't physically be there.
Yeah, this is the first year we've done that. We started it, but actually we started promoting the golf tournament, which is in August at Christmas, and offering it as a gift with the donor. So we've kind of incorporated that in, but and even, if you can't be there, here's a QR code to donate. So that is something we're doing. It just feels like we're going uphill. So
yeah. And I wonder if, it's not appropriate for every event, but for many events, there can be an aspect to peer-to-peer fundraising. So whether the person is making an individual page or a team page related to the golf tournament and raising funds on behalf of your organization leading up to the day, if you give folks enough lead time prior to the event, you may be able to make the ask, not just for a one-time donation, but instead for them to create a page, share with their friends and family, and typically raise a lot more than they would have donated that one-time donation. Michael, any thoughts on that?
No, just reinforcing. I mean, that RSVP strategy stuff is super, super important. And it's really the way that you, I think, combine like real-time events, in-person events with either the folks who can't attend or just, just leveraging it as just a great marketing moment just to engage your community. If someone can't attend, they can make a gift instead. If someone's friend of someone attending, you can play around with that as well. I think peer-to-peer stuff is really great too, that combines there. But yeah, super important. And it's so important really to think sort of multi-channel. I mean, I think we'll return to that theme a lot in the next few months, but just always like, if we're doing something in real time, how do we leverage it with digital and vice versa, et cetera. So that kind of thinking is great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. And lastly, I really just wanted to check in with the time we have and just ask, did you meet your fundraising goals? And of course, fundraising, we always think monetary, which of course is important, but I also want to know, amount of donors, amount of unique donations, new donors, recurring gifts, whatever is most important or what you set out to accomplish for 2023. Did you meet those goals? And if not, how can we in these next couple months make sure that you're in a good place to meet those goals for 2024? So any feedback just on goal setting or surprises that came out of your goal setting for 2023 fundraising?
Yay, Tiffany, who said she had a pretty small goal, but we hit it. So every goal is important. So that's awesome.
Yes, definitely. And there's no small goal. I mean, it's all relative, right? And the only way's up, right? So that's wonderful to hear. Anybody else have any unique goals that they set? Social media engagement, email opens, anything like that you wanted to make sure you focused on improving? Kim said we did not, but our goals were too big for our britches. Kim, if you're feeling comfortable with it and want to come off mute, I do want to talk about that and goal setting related to that, because sometimes we're like, yeah, we're going to raise $100,000. Okay. And it turns out to be $75,000. What do you do then to adjust your messaging? Oh, no voice at the moment. I hope you feel better soon. I think that's an important aspect of digital fundraising, the fact that you can set a goal and that doesn't have to be the permanent goal. Adjust your, be able to be flexible in your messaging. Of course, if you're maxing out and reaching above and beyond your goal, to celebrate and continue to drive donations, but also the alternative. If you're only at 75K and you don't think you'll make it to 100K by your deadline, maybe there's an extension. Maybe there's a special matching grant that appeared in the last couple days up to your deadline. So there's definitely some fun ways that you can play with any goal that you publicly announce, even if you don't hit it. Because if you don't hit it for 2023, you can still carry that messaging into 2024. You can still be saying, hey, let's catch up. Let's make a difference from our 100K goal last year in this first quarter of this year. Michael, I don't know if you've seen that work. That's just kind of what I've seen as far as urgency and goal setting that works for a lot of nonprofits.
Yeah, and I'm also having fun reading the chat where people are commenting on these goal issues. Yeah, it's a very interesting question. It's just the whole psychology of giving. I mean, I do believe that, it's important to pick a goal that feels, I would call, aspirational. In other words, it's okay to set a higher goal than you think you might meet, because you're being aspirational with your community and you're asking people to step up and meet the moment with you to help the community that you serve, your clients, etc. So I think that's fine. And if you don't make the goal, there's still a reason to turn around and thank folks, and also gives you a chance to, when you set a high goal, it gives you a chance to do that messaging back to our copywriting. Explain why the goal is what it is, because you have these big projects that you want to undertake in the coming year, and hopefully that inspires more folks to step up, and you can continue that messaging throughout the year. So I'm a big fan of using strong goals but not feeling too bad if you don't always meet them, because it's really about investing in your donors and inspiring them throughout the year.
Awesome. Hi, Mo. Looks like you have your hand up. Thank you. Go for it.
Hi, I do. I got my COVID and flu vaccine yesterday, and so I'm feeling real awful. So my camera is off. I apologize. And I know we are running out of time, so this might be a question that we can bank for later. In terms of session 1, we talked a lot about the psychology of giving. And I'm curious, when donors open up a campaign and the goal is $100,000, we have 2 days left and we're at 80,000. Is there I want to help push, we're really far away, but my dollar might help get them there, versus let's just go ahead and be realistic. We're going to set our goal to 50, hoping that we raise 75, and the donor opens it up and sees that our goal is 50, we've raised 65. Is the psychology out? Well, they've already surpassed their goal. My dollar is no longer needed. And we have 60 seconds, so I understand if we can save this for later, but something that I've definitely been grappling with when talking about realistic goal setting.
Yeah, it's a challenge, and I've worked with giving events, community giving events across the country, and they have to, just like Colorado Gives Day does, kind of publicize a goal oftentimes to help motivate folks. And, I think I always lean towards setting a higher goal than you maybe realistically anticipate, because if you're not setting that goal, you can't ever surprise yourself and make it. And I do feel that if you're surpassing your goal early on in the campaign, it does give you an opportunity to just adjust your messaging, increase your goal. But I do feel that there's a little bit of donor psychology that plays into that when they see that you've already met your goal. So just know that on the Colorado Gives platform, your metrics are adjustable. So it's not like you're stuck with that $60,000 goal. You can change that at any time throughout your campaign on your organization page or any fundraiser page, to better match or communicate that visually. That's a good question. And I'd love to talk more about that offline with you, Mo.
Great question, Mo. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great question.
Well, we are at time here. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye until our next class? All right. Well, if you need anything, like I said, always contact me. I can connect you with the Firefly folks, the Catchafire folks. I can talk Colorado Gives. We can talk advanced features, whatever it is that you need support on. We're here to serve you. So I just really appreciate you spending some time today with us to really regroup and chat about 2023 so we could move forward effectively in 2024. Michael, any final words before we say goodbye and sign off?
Just a little balloon drop, just thanking everyone for participating and just so interested in learning about everyone's campaigns and your aspirations for the year. So looking forward to digging into it further with you all.
Wonderful. Well, everybody have a great rest of your week. Thank you again for participating, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.